Immigration. And you were quoted in the Miami Herald as saying this: we need to come up with an immigration policy that works for the country. If you're stopped in our state, no different than if you're asked for your ID, you should be able to be asked if you're legal or not. It sounds very much what Arizona did, the law in Arizona. Is that what you want to see happen in Florida?
First, the federal government needs to secure the borders. Second, they need to come up with an immigration policy that works. We've got to make sure that we can have work visas so our ag community can get workers. But finally, if you're in our state or any state and you're stopped because you're violating the law, you're asked for an ID, just like you and I would be asked, you should be able to be asked if you're legal or not.
So you like the law in Arizona? You'd like to implement that in Florida?
We got to make sure there's no racial profiling. It's got to be fair. But sure, we need to know who's in our state, especially people doing something wrong.
Because here's the issue that you could face, and I assume you're aware of the boycott of Arizona, tourism to Arizona. A lot of groups don't want to go to Arizona right now. They're even thinking of pulling the All-Star game out of Phoenix. Tourism in Florida and conventions in Orlando and Fort Lauderdale and Miami, that's a huge business. You want to go through that?
Whatever we do, we're going to make sure that it's fair, but we do want people to comply with our laws. But look, the federal government needs to secure our borders. They need to come up with a logical immigration process. But if you're violating the law, you ought to be able to ask if you're legal or not.
Will you ask the legislature in Florida to pass new legislation that would give authorities the opportunity, the right away to ask for identification of legal status if they're picked up for something?
I don't have to. The legislature's already focused on it. There are already a couple of bills.
You would sign it into law?
Depending on how it's written, absolutely.
And if it's written like in Arizona, you'd be willing to take the chances of boycotts of Florida?
I'll make sure that there's no racial profiling. I'm going to make sure it's fair to all Floridians.